Hello, I'm Evie, and this is Word Up Podcast. Unfortunately, Webster is not here as he's traveling, but our special guest for today is Milda, the storyteller. Hello, Milda.
Hi, hello.
How are you today?
I'm okay, good. Very busy currently, but all good.
Yeah.
Running from one event to another one, as usual.
So you're really busy with your storytelling, right?
Yes, I am. Because as I like to say, I'm building my storytelling empire across the Europe.
Wow.
I'm trying to cover two countries, my homeland, Lithuania, and the Netherlands where I live. So I really don't complain about not having work.
And how did it all start?
How did it all start? Once upon a time. So I have few versions of this sort of like story of my start in storytelling. Which one do you want to hear?
Tell us all.
All of them. It actually was very intuitive choice. I wasn't very, thinking rationally, putting pros and cons on the paper and trying to figure out. It was very, very intuitive decision. I was sort of in the point of my life, and I wasn't sure if I want to carry on doing what I was doing. At that point, I was working at university, and I was working this sort of very administrative job. I was a research administrator, so I would help scientists to kind of proceed their research, helping them with documents and fundraising and so on.
And this is still in Lithuania?
Yeah, was still in Lithuania, in Vilnius. And then just, when you start doubting something, it's like, it's kind of everything okay, but I'm missing something. And somehow first I found a book on Amazon about storytelling, and this word of storytelling somehow attracted me very much. So I bought myself that book. I read it. Then after 2 years since that, I decided to carry on studying my masters, and I went for literature masters. And I also was like, storytelling. Something was already in my mind. And then just after I finished my masters and thought it wasn't that, I started just Googling courses somewhere in Europe where I could just go and learn a storytelling skill, because it wasn't a thing in Lithuania back then. And I did that. And I found the Mesrap Storytelling School in Amsterdam.
Okay. Yeah.
And I came here just for one course. But I loved it. I was just sort of like, I don't know, it felt like, people like to say, found your element.
Right.
And it felt like all these kind of parts of puzzle just fell down and everything became sort of clear. And so...
So how long did it take you from the idea till... the course, let's say?
Okay, 2 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe 2-3 years, I don't know. Yeah, but I got myself a book 2013.
Right.
And I entered my master's in 2013. So after the master's, I came to Amsterdam in 2015 for a short introduction course. And then I came back for intermediate course, and then I moved to Amsterdam to practice storytelling, because this is a very practical craft. You need you to learn by doing it. And then I did a professional course. And here I am.
7 years later, right? So you've been in Amsterdam now for what, 6? No.
I was going back and forth, and I would say my I moved and I didn't go back was 2017.
Okay, so
gonna be 3 years this year. Yeah, but I am since 2015 going having this love and hate relationship with Amsterdam.
Oh, really? How come?
I didn't like it at the beginning.
Right.
For me, it was only this idea of moving here just to study, to learn the craft of storytelling. And I felt like it was sort of like a marriage, arranged marriage. That I have to be in the city because I found this amazing school. But actually, I think for maybe around a year, I started enjoying living here. And then when it comes to, I am more motivated to learn the language, and I like also to socialize more, to have like people around me than I used to be. For me, it felt like everything just very temporary. I just somehow have to, I'm just like doing the storytelling and I'm not living. But I think I started living already in Amsterdam, and I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. But then it also sounds like you had made a massive decision to change your whole life just because you liked something and you had an idea of storytelling as a thing. How did your family accept that? How did...
everyone thought I'm mad. Very simple. And, at that time, I didn't think I'm making a big decision. I wouldn't, like now when I'm telling the story, then I'm constructing this sort of experience, and I know how to, so then, I'm putting myself in this but at that time I seriously just thought, okay, just a little bit more, and then I'm just gonna forget everything. Oh, it's so interesting. I'm just gonna be doing a little bit more, and then it just was. I found something that I just sort of like couldn't grasp, completely. It's just always something new, because like doing a performance, even though you always prepared, you know your text, you know the story very well, but you come and there's audience, and you get to meet them, and you have them only for this time, and it's never gonna repeat itself.
Right.
So it's just so many interesting things, and for me it was like, oh, this is so interesting, and this thing is so interesting, and that's so interesting.
Right.
And it felt like, oh, I'm just gonna learn a little bit of this, and then of this, and then of this, and as if I was in a forest and just following crumbs on the path, just trying to pick them. And this is how it wasn't like, oh, I am moving, or like I'm making this decision. No, it was just like very small steps. Yeah. And I think this is what's very helpful, because otherwise I don't know if I would have been able to really like fully stand myself for this decision, because you have this sort of good job and everything is fine and everything is okay, and suddenly you start telling to one, oh, I want to be a storyteller, and everyone is like,
what is that?
What is that? Like, why can't you do that while you are doing other things?
Of course, right?
And no, I want to be a full-time storyteller. So it was a bit of a madness at the beginning, definitely. It was, but I felt like I'm just sort of with the wave. I'm just like sort of like pushed, and it's not even me fully taking decisions. And
what is storytelling for you now?
Oh my God. I've passed so many phases. I would say currently, I really tend to get very philosophical because my background is in philosophy. It's definitely a craft that you have to practice constantly, otherwise you might sort of become floppy. It's a tool to connect very deeply and meaningfully with others. And also now for me, it's also some kind of, I would say maybe a way of living. Storytelling, like the performance itself taught me also a lot about myself and how I live. And there's some lessons you can learn about that. You can never control your audience, right? And you can try very much, but you're just gonna collapse. So this acceptance and being able to receive and then give and receive and give is on a deeper level, it's some sort of like way of living, and maybe I would say meditation
Right.
in a way.
Wow. And
I told you that it's like, please keep me away from.
No, it's beautiful. And how do you craft your stories? Like, how do you choose? Do they come to you? Do you go after them?
Yeah, both ways. Very differently. Yeah, they can come and you just can't avoid them. Like, oh, you're just like, no, not now, not now. And just they keep knocking the door until you really make something very conscious. Yeah, you construct, you put it in a structure. Or it can be you get a theme, you get a commission, and then you think, you look, you do a research, you try to find something that is interesting for you, right? You dig deeper, and then, again, you just make it a structure that is interesting, challenging maybe for yourself, how to make it better and just interesting for audience, for yourself, entertaining as well.
And you also craft them in 2 languages or more languages, or?
No, only like currently 2 languages, but really would love to do in Dutch as well. But I'm working on that. A lot of people like also pushing me, like, Milda. I'm like, okay. And so both like Lithuanian and English.
And do you translate them, or is like different stories live in different languages?
I wouldn't say you. I have some stories, same stories in both languages, but you don't really translate them literally. You kind of adapt them to the culture, to the audience. It's very different audiences. It's one thing to tell a personal story, like for Lithuanians. And it's very different to tell for internationals in Amsterdam or Dutch people. So it's always the sort of like variation. Yeah.
And now I'm just curious. You probably, I don't know, this is my assumption, learned more about Lithuania once you left it.
Definitely. I think, you know from your own experience. And also about myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always, very easy to accept that, because you come with a lot of prejudices about life, and you don't know that until someone points to you, right? And you're like, so you have a few options what to do with that. You can close yourself, or you can open yourself even more. So I think I did the latter thing. I opened myself even more, trying to understand, who am I? What does it mean, this Lithuanian, or what is it? So, and it was very interesting. And
what is it?
What is it? I made a show on that. Have you seen it?
I saw
it. So I just kind of following this quest for what is it. I made a full storytelling show. I emigrated by accident, and I still don't know. Every time, I go to Lithuania, I learn a different thing that I didn't know before. And something surprises me or annoys me, really. Like, and it's okay. But, of course, you also have this sort of a drama that you are in between.
Yeah, the liminality, the disconnect in a way.
You are in between. You can, I'm going to Lithuania every month, and I read a lot about what's happening there, and I try to go to different events to understand what's going on, what's trendy. But it's not enough. It just sometimes I'm just don't understand, and I see people sometimes also don't understand me anymore. Because I'm also, through this process of adapting myself in a new country, I also changed. So.
Yeah, of course. So, do you feel like you have different topics that follow you like constant topics that follow through your stories? Because now you mentioned the story that you made with you emigrated by accident. So it's more about like belonging probably, and like learning to be where you are and connecting to where you come from.
I think as there was a Amsterdam Storytelling Festival in November, and we did did a show together with British writer Marie Phillips, à la carte, our show, and we just had this theme because the festival had a theme addiction, and I discovered through this like also research, and I was like, I'm not addicted to anything. What kind of story I'm gonna tell? And I realized that in some way I'm addicted to Lithuania actually. And that's the topic that follows me in variations. Either maybe I'm telling a story about my family, my childhood, right? Or some kind of historical piece. I make a story. I don't think you can avoid it. It's just cripples in my practice. And I think that, it's very important to be able to tap on something that's very personal and not to be afraid of that. And I am Lithuanian. I grew up there. I left the country only when I was 26. So, and I live abroad for like 3-4 years. So there's a lot of things over there. And I'm just sort of trying to be connected to that, not to be afraid, not to be ashamed to tell my story. And I would say, that would be the thread.
Okay, so like connecting to your own authenticity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like, how else? I could pick up the story, but from other, country maybe, but I don't know the landscape. I don't know the weather. I don't know the people, how they communicate. So can I then transfer it well to the others while only using words? I need, like, for the good storytelling, you need to imagine very well. You need to feel it. You need to, like, taste it and smell it. So then others also can taste it and smell it and feel it and see it. Yeah.
How do you explain what Lithuania is to people who don't know?
Okay. So, this is, I'm probably asking this because you explained a lot of times yourself, so you just like to annoy me.
I need to learn from you maybe something.
Little tips. So I start, sort of, you have to first locate where the person is from, if it's like states, right? So you say like it's Europe. Very small country in Europe, in the sort of northeast. If the person is from Europe, and I say it's Baltic states, close to Poland, in between Poland and Russia. If they know, many people know Latvia and Riga because probably, I don't know, it's easier to go there. The city is bigger and because of very simple things. So I just say, it's southern of Latvia. So
it's one more flight after Riga.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's different ways.
Nice. And I'm just wondering, since we were talking about stories, if you have something prepared for us.
Once there lived a blacksmith, and he had a son. And the blacksmith, he was a single parent. So he cared only about two things: about his son that he loved dearly, and about his craft. How to take a metal, use the fire, and make different things from the metal. A fence or a handle or, maybe a door. And he really wanted his son to take that craft from him. So he started teaching him from very early days. Well, he was still little and running around in a workshop. And the boy, he really enjoyed helping his father. Take some sort of a metal, use the fire, bend it, make a little figure out of it. And because of the hard labor he always did, he grew up into this huge man. You know, probably some of you been in an old house with very heavy furniture, and it's like generation after generation just sticks the wallpaper around, let's say, the wardrobe, right? Because they can't move it. So this is how was the son of the blacksmith, the huge man. And when he was 16, he was helping his father in a workshop, and he was enthusiastic still, you know. He would wake up in the morning and he would go to the workshop place, but he was sort of like looking through the window to his friends outside, and taking less and less attention to the work he was doing. And his father like saying, "What you do, right? Just focus. It's dangerous." The years passed, and the blacksmith's son, he looked that everyone is leaving, his friends somewhere, and they're leaving into the world to look for happiness, because everyone is doing that, right? You don't ask yourself, you just leave the house that you grew up in, look for happiness. And then he was around 20, he just turned to his father and said, "You know, I want to leave and go into the world and look for happiness." And the father was like, "Why? Don't you have here everything? Don't you have a house and a meal and me, someone that, you know, always takes care of you? Why are you not happy?" And the blacksmith's like, I don't know. Everyone is leaving. I want to go as well." And the father says, "Okay, sure. But can I make you something for you? You know, so I know that you are safe. I will make you a walking stick out of metal." Because the guy was really big, it didn't make sense to give him a wooden stick, right? So he did a huge metal stick and gave it to the son when it was still warm. So he just pressed it a little bit, and the fingerprints left on the warm metal. And off he went. So it's interesting, right? So I told until the
What's the end?
Yeah, I don't want to tell. You know, that's the story of my repertoire. Book me for how I went. But the funny thing happened. I told the story, and it's a story about, you know, this like universal story about someone leaving the house. But I took that story. It's from Lithuanian archive. It was collected from the live storytellers in the village, and it was very raw, and I made it, you know, like my story, and I'm telling it around. And after one event, a Flemish storyteller came to me, and he said to me, he's from Belgium, "I know that story." And I was like, "How come you know? It's a Lithuanian story from archive." He's like, "No, it's a Flemish story." But the guy, not a blacksmith, but a barrel maker. And all the things that I am explaining, what kind of adventure he goes later, happens the same in the Flemish story. And then he's also telling me the end of it, and it's just some nuances, but it's exactly the same story. And for me, it was such a beautiful experience in my career, because, you know, many times when I'm telling a story on live performance, I feel I'm connecting to something very universal, right? But I cannot explain it. It's like energy or whatever. But this event and this conversation that I had kind of gave me this shape. We are telling, you know, it's not like Belgium, Lithuania, the Netherlands, Germany. We are seriously like the citizens of the world. We are all people, and our stories, archetypes, are very, very similar. There's no differences. It's just a nonsense. So
what's the end?
I told you. Yeah, the end is dark. Thank you for this opportunity.
So, okay, I'll stay suspended in my curiosity.
Seriously, book me.
Nice. But to go back to what you said, like the stories that intertwined between cultures and countries, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, borders or imaginary lines on the map. Do you find more and more these kind of stories? Do you find that like also you look at those countries that you hear about that having same stories, you look at them differently also maybe?
So, like, as I said, I would always feel this sort of like belonging to something bigger since I started doing storytelling. But I could never grasp it, like, and I could never, until now understand was like, we're actually telling the same stories. For me, still, I was like seriously still, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna still hang on my, Lithuanian stories and culture and everything. But on a deeper level, it just really was such an amazing sort of like given shape to this understanding that I already had. That somebody came and tells me, I know that story, and it's a Flemish story. I'm like, no, it's a Lithuanian story. It's people's story. It's a humanity. Human story.
Of course,
So it was beautiful, and I just wanted to share that.
No, thank you so much. And I'm also curious to hear a little bit more about your process, also because you said you found this story specifically in the archives. So do you often go to archives? Do you interview people? Do you search proactively for new stories?
There's a lot of already stories collected, and there's a huge archive that everyone can dive in, and it's. There's a raw material there, right? What we buy in like books, like Lithuanian stories for children, there's usually someone worked on the on the literature side of it. They make it readable and everything. But everything what is in archive, it's how it's been spoken, right? How it was told, and it's a different like written language and spoken language. You probably guys know very well. It's a different. It has the sound. It's lively, and so I really like to go there. And we just got a letter. So I really like to dive into the archives, and it's when I want to tell a folk tale, right? Because I also work with personal stories. So when I need something from the family, I remember something very vaguely. I call my father or mother, but they are already a bit scared now. We don't share so much because I keep telling everything to everyone. So different process. Sometimes, you can still ask a person, someone, details, and then if something is missing, I just create it because I think this is what makes a storyteller. It's not like information news or anything. Right. It has to be still a creative process, or I dive into archive books.
And also, so you're mostly focusing on Lithuanian folk in that section.
Yeah, I feel most comfortable with that. As I said, some and also it's not so much translated into other languages from our culture and the heritage. So I also feel, this responsibility, and then at some point also it's like sort of like even a privilege to be able to read this very old language, which is, it has a lot of interesting things inside it.
Wow.
And which is connected, as I already told, with the global storytelling heritage.
Right. Okay. And then also, speaking of, you mentioned about your domination of the world before.
Yeah, it's
your
like
global.
I'm seriously getting tired of this. What we gonna do today? We're gonna try and conquer the world,
right? It's legit. So, how do you envision your future? How do you story tell your own future?
I can only think about holidays. Currently, how I envision my future. I would like to be able to make more sort of art and more shows, and feel less responsible for organizing events and festivals and whatever, to kind of spread this knowledge about storytelling in Lithuania, because I still feel this responsibility. But I would like someone to take over. I'm just like, I really would like to be able to do art, maybe. I have so many ideas what I would like to work on, to dig, maybe, to have a residency somewhere for 2 months where I could just dig and search for some information and then make a piece. So that I wish for myself. But let's see, Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And then I'm there, I feel like, wow, it's amazing.
And how do you deal with that fatigue then? With lack of motivation?
How do I deal? I go and have a rest. It's like...
to sleep on it.
Exactly. Sleep, eat, just...
love yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds banal because now everyone is just love yourself. It would be nice not to forget others as well. During loving yourself, you just, maybe because I'm getting older, I used to be able to go non-stop, and just, I can't anymore. I have to have weekends. I always, wherever I work very hard during the week, and then I try to have a weekend off. So I just don't check my email, don't stay online so much. I like to go to museums. I love art.
Right.
Go somewhere to nature because it recharges me very well. Just
so
like that.
Feeding the body and the soul.
Exactly. Just because the stress you get every time before live performance is insane. It's insane, and you have to take that in account.
Well, and the last question I have for you is, what advice would you give to people who are either starting or just thinking about starting to be in storytelling?
I would suggest them practice, and get out of the workshopping. You took one workshop, go tell stories in public. And after telling maybe for a few months in public, then take another workshop, right? But then you have already questions that are like from practical point of view, and make notes for yourself. Okay, I felt like I failed there. Film yourself, ask for feedback. Don't be afraid to ask, because if you told the story wrong, it doesn't mean that you are a horrible person or you are, I don't know, a failure, whatever. You just are told a story maybe not in a good way, right? Which can be fixed.
You're just having a bad day.
You're just having a bad day, or just like the audience wasn't very accepting you or anything. Just and don't give up.
And for our listeners, if you're curious to learn more about Milda or our previous guests, you can find all the information and transcripts on our website, www.wordapodcast.com, or on social media. And don't forget to subscribe and give us 4-star review. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much for inviting and having me here.
Yay, thank you. Doei.